Hey people, Johnny Manuel here. Um, I was able to attend the movie. Here's my ticket. Here's my proof. And I got pictures online being on the red carpet. After the red carpet events, we weren't able to get on it while the stars were on it. I guess I may have been too hopeful because I dressed up for the occasion. I wore a black. Um, I wore my regular clothes, like a long sleeve kind of deal, black jeans and black boots, and then over it, I had like brown leather Ren Fair style pauldrons and a belt with a cool patch, and I wore a hooded cape, and I also had a sword. Um, Even though we were instructed to leave our swords behind. But I told him, "Hey, it's not real. Let me show you what I brought. This is supposedly a foam sword in the style of whatever it is that Gandalf. I think it's Elundril or whatever. It has the rune letterings right there. But I brought it, and everybody thought it was cool, kinda. I even got even some people even asked me to take a picture with them, and that's cool. Maybe there's a side hustle waiting for me in Hollywood. Um, I never got to see any of the red carpet events. Dolph Lundgren was there. I saw it after the fact, after the event, but Dolph Lundgren supposedly passed his passed the power sword to Nicholas Galitzine. Um, I we got free popcorn, and I got like a small soda cup filled with free soda. They treated us well over there. When we got to our seats, we had assigned seats, and I was given this that had a couple of these, and maybe these shall remain in their boxes, at least for the time being, because I already have them. I already opened my Tila. I haven't, I have a few of these. Revenge of Skeletor version, the Gold Skeletor, and the one from the 4 pack with Goatman. Goatman was awesome, by the way. Bjorn or whatever his name was, uh, Sir Clegane was his role in Game of Thrones. He was the bigger guy, the one who turned into a zombie, or they turned into a zombie. Clegane, the strongest man in the world, power lifted like 1,000 pounds or something like that. He was there as Goatman, and there's uproar saying, "Who the hell is Goatman? We never heard of him," and he only showed up in some a golden book um, story of He-Man, and that kind of makes sense to me because MGM and Amazon, you know, he translates well to cinema. I'm just gonna say that he looked menacing, um, and he was not CG. Although I'm gonna say this really quick. Action sequences were good. Some of it is CG, some of it has been sped up and obviously choreographed and enhanced. But it's not too different. I would say maybe even a little bit better than what you normally see at the from the Marvel movies. Typical action of what you expect. I thought that it was pretty exciting. Um, I'm no filmmaker, but you may want it's kind of influenced by the anime style. That's what I'm gonna say. Some posing, not overly, of course. Oh yeah, I got a sword. It's about 2.5 feet. I like it. It makes me, now I'm looking to see if I could get the steel stainless steel replica. Use my Affirm credit somehow. Back to the movie. Travis Knight did a short speech talking about how He-Man, how the Eternia lore influenced him as a kid, same as us, and from all that I've heard during the movie and during the promos and stuff like that, I think his influence is a very good one. Movie studios have learned the lesson of trying, you just don't go for a power or money grab and just give it to somebody who can convincingly pull off the original narrative and then some. There's certainly a lot of room for interpretation, which they did for the 87 Masters of the Universe movie. I forgot what his name was, but he designed some of the sets and the costumes, and in the Power of Grayskull documentary, they were talking to him about, hey, it has to be like the toy, it has to be like the cartoon, and then he went, it doesn't have to be. You know what? That's cool. I suppose you're being paid because people want your perspective. But I would have loved it if we had a Battle Cat. If the technology was available, we could have had a Battle Cat. In fact, they did it in Beastmaster. Maybe he couldn't. You can't ride that Battle Cat, but there was a tiger. A Black Panther or a Black Tiger. They, poor guy. They painted that tiger black. I forgot what his name was, Ru or something like that. Anyways, I keep getting sidelined. Action sequences were great. They truly showed the strength of He-Man and his, somehow he learned, with the power of Grayskull being bestowed on him, he's able to move fast and quick. It's not like he's not the tank, but he's definitely a lean, mean fighting machine. I loved it. It's more realistic for me to somebody of his build to move the way that he does. Kind of like Superman, kind of like if you got a Hercules type of character, an Arnold Schwarzenegger type of character trying to do that, it's, you gotta maybe have it look cinematic, like the guys that they did, that did 300. It's warrior shit, okay? Somebody being able to leap like 20, 30 feet in the air, maybe more. It's great looking. You want to see somebody who does superhuman feats like that, because it's about magic and mysticism and fantasy. He used the sword, definitely. Some guys got stabbed, some got knocked into walls, and you see a little bit of that in the movie trailers. They didn't show all of it, okay? The action sequences were good. I would say that Ram Man, Mechanic, and Fisto, and the lady who spins, and supposedly as a kid, she pushed Adam around into the lockers. They had lockers in Eternia, and they called them lockers as well. It doesn't make sense to me that they have an Eternian alphabet, yet they can speak English. All right, but I left my criticism behind. They don't have to explain it that way. It just is, okay? They just spoke English in Eternia, same as us. Why not Filipino? Why not Chinese? Why the hell do you have a different letter alphabet, different looking letters in the alphabet, and it's still 26 letters? That doesn't make sense, but it does. Leave that hat behind. Not everything has to make sense. You gotta you gotta suspend your disbelief. That's why we go to movies, in order to escape reality. Preacher John, preach it, John. I loved it. Okay. Um, I can't tell you of the imperfections. I can get nitpicky, but I don't really want to wear that hat right now. Um, that's what they did to Star Wars. The fans were just overly critical. They want things to be super accurate. Hashtag Rebel Legion. Who wants to be part of a group where it's super exclusive, where everything has to be accurate? You know what? You know what we do with toys when things are not available to us? We customize our toys. We paint them. We change their heads. Okay? We change parts of their costume. I'm not able to buy a Battle Lion in order to get the Battle Cat 2000X armor and put it on something else, because they're too freaking expensive. They're about $150 on eBay with a $50 delivery charge. It's just ridiculous. I 3D print stuff just so I can have my own Grayskull. My own third wall. And pretty soon I might be, I want to take an interest in 3D printing weapons as well. If you live in the SoCal area near Norwalk, I'll hook you up. We are allowed, maybe not to make our own movie. Actually, somebody already did. Somebody made The Man, Master of the Universe, and it's a mockumentary, a mock bluster, and I think it's hilarious. You're allowed to have your own interpretation. That's what they did with the Origins line. They put, they made the parts interchangeable. They mashed up Stranger Things and He-Man. That's all right. In some universe, that probably existed. It's all right. But if we want to stick to the narrative, stick mostly to what we got, to what was dear to our hearts, they did that as well. They stayed true for the most part. I heard that, somebody's, a special effects or prop designer, actually made a fish-looking character. Even though he was not part of the villains roster, they made him anyway, and he was in the background. So if they can make him look like that, I wasn't able to search. I was just too busy and engrossed with other things, movie related. I don't catch every single detail, and maybe that's why I'm gonna watch it a few more times, multiple times, because I love this movie and I want it to do well. I saw a review by Mad Hatter, who I met during the movie premiere, by the way. Shout out to Mad Hatter. He said something about, even if I hated the movie, even if I didn't enjoy the movie, I want this to do well because I want the IP to do well. I love the IP. And if this does well, then that means we get more stuff. We get to buy more toys. We get to buy more collectibles. We get to buy more, props and whatever. I use it for inspiration for my own music. I all of a sudden it motivated me, like, hey, it got me back to doing sketches and drawings. It got me to make my own Castle Grayskull here, or the third wall, the Castle Grayskull. I printed that to complement a playset, the Origins playset. And I really love this, this version of King Grayskull. Um, and if the cape isn't enough, we could have, I could probably make a bigger cape, learn how to sew and all that. Back to the movie. It was good, guys. I think whether or not it's a good way to step into the lore. It's a good way to sell you the idea of maybe, hey, maybe I should collect the toys. Maybe I should collect the comic books. Because it certainly did for me. Okay? There were some great and maybe considered false starts regarding the IP, talking about Netflix revelations and revolutions. And a part of the revelations slash revolutions narrative is that anybody can just pick up the sword and become awesome sauce He-Man. But that is not the case here with the current movie. You have to be predestined to become a champion of Grayskull. Not everybody is worthy. You got to be worthy. It's kind of like the Mjolnir thing, and it's kind of like the Thor thing where, you know, you don't really need the sword. You are born, you were chosen to be the vessel of the power of Grayskull. Um, there's some etching around his harness, and I saw somebody actually researched and cross-referenced what looks like, Eternian alphabet scribblings. It's the He-Man harness with a red cross. Um, what he made out is that whoever unlocks the secrets of Grayskull unlocks the secrets of the universe. And that's you can't see it in the movie. You see it through the props. If you take I took a video, but that's forever etched in my memory anyways. I took video and I did some nasty commentary about geeks collecting life-size toys and how Sorceress costume looked like what my ex-wife used to wear at our wedding before an immigration judge. But I digress. It's knowing the secrets of the universe. Let me tell you how to unlock it. Okay, you gotta check out the perspective of looking at life through the eyes of somebody with through the eyes of a child. Because only a child can look at every little thing as a new thing, something hopeful, something joyful, something that can motivate you, something that can just take your passions and make you run away with it. People talk about the masculinity they notice about how freaking they how to stand up after failing, and there's certainly a lot of that. Neglecting yourself and just giving up. But when somebody enters your life, or someone or something enters your life and inspires you, you pick yourself up and start all over again. There's definitely a lot of that kind of heart in this movie. But what I saw was like, he saw Eternia. He remembered Eternia. Even though he was stranded on Earth for 15 years, he never forgot. He stuck with that worldview, a 10-year-old. And that led him back home. Home can mean a lot of things. Maybe something that you yearn for, something that already existed but you lost. Home is also part of your destiny. In his case, his destiny was, if and when Eternia needed a champion, that he would be available and to come and redeem his world when it needed saving. That's all I got. I think you're gonna enjoy the movie. Um, you'll figure out what's going on, and you'll figure out that boys don't cry, and there's a lot of music. And I want to correct the guy who said that Brian May was from the Who. He's not from the Who, man. You're talking about a different Brian May. Brian May is from Queen, and Queen did Highlander and Flash Gordon. So if it resonates, it's definitely up their alley, man. Now I realized it. We are missing a lot of that in today's society. We're missing a lot of that. We need that spark. We need the force that moves you, that binds you, and gets you laid on a Saturday night. We need that. By the power of Grayskull, friends. Thank you. Choo-choo, choo-choo.